Welcome to Dig It, a real estate podcast by Hubble Realty Company.
Hello, my name is Carla Ellerman, and I am with Edencrest Senior Living. With me today is Susan Miller. Good morning, Susan.
Hi, Carla. How are you?
I'm doing well.
So I've been with Edencrest for about 8 years. Recently, I transitioned into the Highmark role as sales specialist. I think you knew that, Carla. Mm-hmm. A little bit about me and where I started with Edencrest. So about 8 years ago, I interviewed at Edencrest in Johnston, which is called Green Meadows. As I drove into that parking lot and noticed, in this wooded area, I thought, what a beautiful place. Walked inside to Edencrest at Green Meadows in Johnston, and it immediately felt like home. And I think that's a lot of what our communities feel like to people. It feels like home. We're small to mid-sized communities. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm curious, what made you decide to go into senior living?
I have a background in the travel industry many moons ago. But for me, it was, I was a stay-at-home mom. I was in a small town. I decided to start working at an independent living community in North Iowa. Once I moved to the Des Moines metro area, I knew my heart was in senior living, and that's where I began. How about you?
Well, actually, I started over 20 years ago, and the reason I did is we're going back to the 80s. My grandmother spent 10 years in a nursing home, a full 10 years, because there was no place for her. And the reason, like I said, there was no place for her, so she spent a decade of her life in a full-fledged nursing home. And I just thought to myself, there has to be something different. There has to be something different. And I saw an ad in the paper. Yep, I'm that old. And it said assisted living.
Traditional media. I love it.
It said assisted living. So I read up on it, and that was my start. And it has been amazing to see how the industry has evolved over the years. And we have just come so far from where we were in taking care of our elderly people. I just feel it's just my passion in life.
What was your grandma's name? I have to know.
My grandma's name was Kate.
Kate.
Yes, and
Grandma
I think
Kate.
of her often. And, it's funny, we didn't have a good relationship. And that was so sad to me. I didn't have a good relationship with my grandparents for whatever reason. I think there was too many of us. So working with the elderly kind of fills that need as well. And it's been super rewarding.
Here in the Des Moines Metro, we have quite a few assisted living communities. It's like you're talking about, it's to help these seniors. What do you think the benefits of assisted living truly are?
Oh, that's a great question, because that is what I do. My title is Community Relations Director. However, I'm the person that takes your phone call when family is in crisis or mom is in skilled and they say you have 48 hours to find a place for her because the doctor says you're not going home. That's me on the other end of the phone.
Wow. So you're making that connection right away with that person in crisis, which
absolutely.
is huge.
Some people still feel that this is the home, this is the nursing home, because that's the experience that they had with their parents. Mm-hmm. And what we're trying to do at Edencrest is turn that thinking around. Okay, this isn't the home, this is the next chapter. Okay, it's as simple as that. We all go through chapters in our life. This is just the next one. And I tell people, Let us do the hard work for you. Let us do meals, housekeeping, laundry, all of that stuff, so you have energy to do what you want. I have just seen some people really do a complete turnaround. And I have to say, one of my favorite phone calls I ever get is usually from the daughter. Her mother just moved in, and she says, Carla, I have called my mom all day and I can't reach her. And I'll say, well, guess what? Your mother went to breakfast, then she went to bingo, now she's listening to music, getting ready for lunch. To me, that is success.
It is.
Busy.
She's busy, and they come to our communities to live.
Yes.
And that's so important that, like you said, she's busy, they're active. We have, exercise program. We have meals. We have so many activities going on in our communities. And the benefit, I feel like, especially with the colder months coming on, they're able to be in our communities and they still can be active. They can still walk, those neighborhood halls. They can still continually, be involved. And I think that also then, it also helps with mental health. We talk a lot about isolation and loneliness and depression in seniors. And Carla, what have you seen in that?
Well, I think the world took a switch after the pandemic, and it really affected what we do. And I think it is made people a little bit even more hesitant to move. However, what it's done to also is it's isolated people. And I really feel most of the residents come to Edencrest for the socialization aspect than any other thing. And I tell them it's as simple as this. If you are bored, open your door and walk down the hallway. Even if it's not a planned activity, you're going to see groups of people.
Exactly.
You're right. And they're just having coffee. These are things that you've done your whole life. And I think it's also worth mentioning as well, a big component in this is the family, right? Not just the potential person who may move in. These adult children come to us in crisis as well, and we have to take care of them too and provide them peace of mind, right? It's amazing what families share with me, what they're going through. Mom's calling me 30 times a day. I'm at work. I can't work. I'm having all of these issues, and it feels so good to provide them peace of mind. And I always say, if you're worried about mom, if you can't reach her, pick up the phone. We're going to check on her. It's as easy as that.
And not only that, I feel like those family members become family members in our community as well.
Absolutely.
Because we are a small to mid-size, all of our communities are that small to mid-size. It truly becomes an entire family that is committed.
And can you clarify? So we have 10 Edencrest communities, soon to be 10.
Soon
Edencrest.
to be 10, correct. So we have 8 currently. Number 9 will be Pleasant Hill, and number 10 in Adel.
And so what do you mean when you say small to mid-size? From a number perspective?
40 to 80 apartments.
Yeah.
That's a small to mid-size. We're not enormous. We get to know them beyond that healthcare level.
Yeah.
We get to know them on a personal level. Our EDs are wonderful. They know families that are walking in. They know every resident's name. So it's important to have that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Susan, you were an executive director, and you were also a customer relations director as well. I'm going to flip it here and ask you, what was one of your challenges when you were a customer relations director?
So customer relations director is, so everybody knows, it's sales and marketing. I think my biggest challenge, is, that's a tough one, Carla. As I'm, running that through my head, I have a lot of scenarios. I think, I don't know if I had any necessarily challenges per se. I think it was more, I love to interact with, these potential residents and their families. And often I would get very connected with them. And then at some point as a community relations director, you let that go and you move on to the next, potential family. So I think the fact that I felt sometimes like, oh gosh, my job is done here. I never wanted that to end. I still wanted to be able to interact with that resident. And so that was important just for me to know that, I'm going to walk through the community. I'm going to stop and say hi. I'm going to stop and see how they're doing. And so that transition from executive director to that position, it's a different role. It's letting go and then letting the nurses and the ED, take on that. But, like I said, you still don't want to let them completely go.
Yeah, that is hard. But I think to the point that we are smaller communities, we can still have that
Exactly.
relationship.
Still interact with them.
Right. Just because they move in doesn't mean they don't see us anymore. We're seeing them every day at activities and meals and things like that.
I had one lady I ran into at Beaverdale when I was there last week, and she has been there probably 5 months, 97 years old, and I stopped and visited with her and asked how she was doing, and I said, so what is your favorite thing so far that you've been here now? What do you like? And she goes, well, I've made some of the best friends of my life. Yeah. And that makes me smile. And then she said, and I'm no longer afraid.
Yes.
And I looked at her and I said, what do you mean no longer afraid? And she goes, well, I was in that house all by myself. And I was afraid at night when I'd hear noises. And so that actually made me stop and think, gosh, how many other elderly, seniors are out there and they're afraid?
Absolutely. One thing that I've noticed as well, and one thing that I talk to families about is this. So often the scenario is a couple's been married 60, 65, 70 years. They lose a spouse, right? They don't want mom home alone and that. They bring her to me. And what I tell them is what is wonderful about a community that we so often overlook is this. Chances are, no matter what your life experiences have been, there is someone in this community that has experienced that. I can be very understanding, but I cannot relate to a woman who's lost her spouse of 65 years because I haven't experienced that. But Marianne down 3 doors down may have.
That's exactly right.
And I love that you said that about the friendships because I feel that's something else that's overlooked. When I was in Dubuque, I had 2 ladies move in within 2 weeks of one another. They had lost their husbands within 2 weeks of one another. And no kidding, day 3, I saw these 2 ladies walk down the hall holding hands. So I run up real quick and I said, do you 2 know each other? They were neighbors 40 years ago.
That's incredible.
I mean, it still gives me goosebumps, and I just feel we are so blessed to work with the age group that we do, right?
Absolutely.
It's truly the greatest generation. And I just feel lucky that I get to spend my days with them.
Carla, you're going to make me cry.
I was going to say,
Sorry.
in a good way.
In a good way.
In a good way. And Susan, move your mic just a little bit. I want to make sure I hear every single word you ladies say. Perfect. Can you both go into just a little bit of the age ranges, or because there is assisted living, there's some independent living, there's memory care. So you really do kind of run the gamut on the care you provide, but also maybe if some of the ages that people would expect or maybe not expect?
I would have to say the age range is huge. I'm thinking of numbers, from 60, up to 100. I think our oldest resident might be 103 at one of our communities.
104 on Wednesday.
104.
In Ankeny.
Okay.
Yes, it was. And do you know what she wanted? All she wanted for her birthday was her hair to be pink.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So honest to Pete, activities went out and they got that hairspray, that you can just wash out. And she had pink hair for her 104th birthday.
That's incredible.
Amazing.
I love this.
And now I might
party.
cry. So
That was a huge party.
That's incredible. 104.
Yeah.
So our age ranges, I don't know that I would say there's specific age ranges. It's a huge age range, and it's, Carla, what would you say?
Oh, I believe the latest statistic is the average age is 83, but we do go anywhere from 55 to 104, right? Wow. However, there's something for everyone, right?
There really truly is. With our independent living. So we currently have independent living at our location in Urbandale, Waukee, Altoona, soon to be Pleasant Hill.
So Timberline, Eden, Kettlestone, and Tuscany.
Correct.
Okay.
So those locations do have true independent living. And so, it's interesting to see those people transition into assisted living. It's a very natural thing. But that doesn't mean that some of our other communities, they still have very independent assisted living residents.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute because I think that is just so confusing for people.
It is.
So we have all these different things: independent, assisted, memory care, skilled, long-term care. What do they all mean? I'll just be super, super general. When I think of independent living, the main reason people would move into independent is because the maintenance, the upkeep on the home is just too much. Okay, they're just tired of
True.
it. Again, a lot of times they've lost a spouse. They could still be driving. They usually get a meal a day with us, but pretty much independent. They want the security of a community and help if they need it, right? Assisted living, I think hands-on. You may need help with showering. You may need toileting assistance. You may need help with medications, right? And then memory care is really a whole different ball of wax. However, memory care is for those that really need help getting through the majority of their day. I know makes it very simple and it's very complicated.
But that's a good way to...
Yeah, that's why we were here. That's why we're here when you make that phone call to help you. I get many phone calls where we're just not the right place, right? Oh, let's talk about why you think your mom needs memory care. Oh, she forgot her keys last week. Okay, let's look into that a little bit.
Because Carla, you forgot your keys.
I forgot mine today. So, yes, absolutely. So that's what we're here for.
To guide them and to lead them.
Yes, absolutely, in the right direction. Absolutely. Susan, do you have any advice for families?
Families looking for their loved one? Or, I guess my advice is we do have soon to be 10 Edencrest in the Des Moines Metro. And I guess I always say, if one community doesn't feel right, I guarantee one of our communities is going to be the right fit for your loved one. We have so much to offer at Edencrest. And like I said, we go beyond the healthcare. We want to get to know them on a personal level. But that's my advice is if you don't like one, that doesn't mean the other one might not be the perfect fit.
Yep, I agree with that too. Something I like to discuss with family members is this. If I could have my way in a perfect world, I would say you need to make a list of 5 non-negotiables, okay? When
I like
you're
that.
looking, yeah, it's just great. It narrows it down for them. Make a list of 5 things your mother's going to need to make her happy. Typically at the top of the list is location. As we age, we're going to need our family closer. It's just the way it is, right? And then start asking mom questions. What is the reason for the move? Does she want care there if she needs it? Does she want a balcony? Does she want a full kitchen? Is she interested in activities? And when you visit, ask to see an activity calendar. Just if you pinpoint down to 5 things that's going to make mom happy, it's really going to shorten your search. And I really feel you can get those 5 things if you look around. And another big thing I would really, really strongly recommend, I'm sorry to the adult children, but it is our job. We go around and we check out every community we can. And then we decide on no more than 3 you would be happy with your mom at. And the reason I say that is this. When you drag mom around and around and around and around and around, by the end of the day, she doesn't know who had the pool. At the end of the day, she doesn't know who had the pony out front. It just all blends. It's overwhelming. So it just makes your the whole process go smoother if you do a lot of that legwork for them.
Absolutely. And then I always advise families, let mom then come and see those final 2 or 3 and let them have some input. Let them pick out their apartment.
They have to be a part of this decision-making process. Another thing, too, that we would love to tell everyone, make a decision while you have choices.
Absolutely.
Right? I completely understand people waiting, but we have to change that mindset. I deal with people on a weekly basis who have completely skipped us. They've completely skipped everything we offer because they waited too long, and now they only have one option, and that would be long-term care. They've missed all of these fun things that we offer.
But let's talk a little bit about, our goal is to they move to Edencrest, and this is the last place they'll ever have to move. And can you explain how that is? What do we do?
Well, and we call that aging in place.
Absolutely.
Right? I keep seeing that term
Aging
come
in
up,
place.
and I like the sound of it.
And it's so often, they're in our communities. We grow to love them. Our resident assistants grow to love, this resident. And we want this to be their last place. We want them to be their final home. This is where they're going to die. And you want to explain hospice and how that works?
A lot of it is the way that we're certified within the state. So how it works is someone can move into an independent living apartment. Even though it's independent living, we are licensed as assisted living, okay? So what that means is this: if John is in independent living, he's there 3-4 years, he starts to need some help, we bring the care to him. He doesn't have to move out of the apartment he originally chose, which is fantastic, guys. I have seen this time and time again, and this is the best way to age in place, right? John, you just stay in the home that you originally chose. We'll bring the care to you. And as far as caring for the majority of our people, we are able to get waivers from the state. Let's say somebody is on a decline. We have hospice in, and I'm just going to plug hospice quick. Hospice does not always mean the end of life anymore, guys. They're very helpful. However, if someone is nearing end of life, the state allows us to get a waiver to provide hospice and exceed the level of care we typically can do. And of course, this is all depends on what the family's wishes are.
Absolutely.
But it is a beautiful thing. Those days are gone again, guys. Those days are gone where you go to the home to die. Those days are over, right?
And at Edencrest, in their apartments, that became their home. And so for them to be able to bring hospice in and die in that apartment, it's a beautiful thing. Gathered, with their family, the Edencrest family, it is a big deal, and it's so important that we help families understand.
Well, absolutely.
It's just a hard topic to talk about for a lot of people.
It is.
I like it, Carla, you mentioned them as adult children. Children being the key word, that is mom and dad. That is, or people who are just like mom and dad.
Exactly.
Or uncle, aunt, whatever.
And like Carla said, these families come to us in crisis. So, as community advisors, as community salespeople, there's often a lot of tears that are shed with those family members because it is very emotional.
You mentioned something, Carla, as well, and either of you can go, on it, but there are a lot of choices, and people need to make those choices, sooner than later, and obviously do their due diligence. But what are some of the other things that set Edencrest apart? Edencrest specifically, or even Highmark as a senior living property manager?
Yeah, I think what's super important is that we are locally owned and operated. Okay, they are right here in Des Moines, Iowa. They are from Iowa. They understand Iowans. They're not 3 states away, because it really affects everything we do, right down to the food that we serve.
Right.
If we understand our people, then they are happy. If I have a question, a concern, it's a simple email with a quick response, or they'll pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Carla, what can I help you with?" Or walk me through that. I've worked for many, many companies, and this is just a big bonus that they're local.
Absolutely. So just to explain that just a little bit more. Okay, so Edencrest is owned by Hubble. And most recently, Highmark is a division of Hubble. So Highmark is our management company. So we're owned and basically operated by Hubble. So that, like you said, it's huge. And to be able to tell families that it's all right here local, it's Iowa strong, really. It's pretty amazing that we have this opportunity.
Absolutely.
What else, Claire asked us some of the other benefits about Edencrest. What are some of the things, you've now worked at several of the communities. What are some of the things that you look at and you go, wow, I love this about this community?
I really love our activity programs, and I've been in multiple Edencrest communities, and they're pretty fantastic. I love the outings. I love that age is not a barrier in our communities, okay? We'll take a busload of 15 people to casino for 4 hours.
Absolutely.
And it's fantastic, and it doesn't matter if they have a walker or a wheelchair because we have our vans for transportation, right? And they're just really living up this next chapter. I can't stress that enough. You don't come to us to stay in a room. You know,
No, you're
it's just
here
more
to live.
Yeah, you're here to live
and to get out. And yep. So one other thing I noticed is that with our activity programs, they're joining the Edencrest together.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
I absolutely
Yeah.
love this.
Oh, so like cross community?
Correct. So we had
Oh.
about 60 attend a picnic. And that was from all the communities. I think they have a pumpkin patch outing coming up. And I believe something for holiday. I'm not exactly sure, but there's a few different
fun.
things.
Yeah.
And it is.
I want to come.
I know,
wanna go.
absolutely. So to see that, to see these Edencrests coming together and enjoying life makes it even more exciting to watch.
Yeah, our Ankeny community is going to the Waukee community today for a tea party.
Which is wonderful.
A tea party?
A tea party.
Crumpets. Oh,
Yeah.
you were just now the British
The
accent
British
is.
accent comes
Yeah.
out today.
There you go, Susan. Yeah.
And how fun is that? Just to go over for tea. And you know, by the time they get in the van, they drive over, they have tea, they come back. That's a 2.5 hour afternoon. And I think that's fantastic.
It is.
Meeting new people. And even though they're in different communities, they're still Edencrest. And they feel that connection. They really feel that that connection.
That's wonderful.
So don't try calling your mom at
Yeah.
No,
today.
she's busy.
She's busy.
She's going to be busy. And we emphasize that. I think as a salesperson, you probably cite, she is going to be busy here. Lots going on. It's not just bingo is really what I like to say.
Oh, we have
so
to-
much more. But we do have bingo.
We have to have our bingo or we'd be in big trouble, Susan.
Yes,
So,
we have to do bingo,
right.
but it's not just bingo.
Right,
So
absolutely.
so much more than bingo.
I think the last time I stopped out at, I want to say it was Tuscany, there was a bags tournament going on.
Absolutely. Beanbag baseball.
That's what it was.
Yep.
And I said, what am I hearing down the hallway? Is this like loud crowd roaring that's happening? And it was a competitive event. There were T-shirts.
Oh,
there
yes.
were teams, and I got a big kick out of that.
Yes,
I
I
love
think
seeing
that. Most of our Edencrests participate in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I know we have the bandits from Beaverdale,
Oh, funny.
Beaverdale Bandits.
Oh, they
Green,
have a name.
yes, they do.
course.
Green Meadows are the Swingers.
Oh, I love that.
That's fantastic.
Carla on a baseball
Carla,
bat.
let's get a shirt for you to wear.
There you
Oh,
go.
boy.
So that's always a hit when family members see their loved one walking around with the Swingers
T-shirt. Oh my gosh.
But,
That's great.
And I know, several of the other ones are participating in that. I don't know their names, but those are the two that, hit me.
fun.
That's
every
a
time.
highly anticipated activity. So they do it every Wednesday, and they'll either host and have a home game or they go to another community. And this just is an Edencrest. This is all the communities, which is a nice hats off for all of us getting along together
Absolutely.
and wanting what's best for our residents, right?
No,
And then there's a World Series.
Yes.
And that one, woof, that gets really...
Well, and Carla, one of my favorite parts of beanbag baseball is during the game, they stop in between innings. It might be the 7th inning, and they all stand up and sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
That's stretch,
And-
right?
Yes, and I absolutely love this. To see them singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and they even do opening ceremony, and they do the pledge or the come on, not Pledge Allegiance.
No, but you said Pledge of Allegiance, and now
Come on, what is it? They do the
Star Spangled
Thank
Banner.
you.
No.
No. Come
What?
on, what is it?
the national anthem.
Which is also the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh my goodness.
We
Okay,
haven't had enough coffee.
we have not had
we
enough.
haven't.
So correct, but it's pretty amazing, and they have often they'll have the flag, and they all stand, and they put
love
their. It is,
And it
it's-
means a lot
It
to
means
them.
a lot to these people.
Yeah.
And we actually have a range of people that participate. We'll have memory care residents, we'll have assisted living residents, we'll have independent living residents, all on the same team. So
Love
it's
that.
not just, you know, a certain group. It's everybody can participate, you know, if they're wanting and if they're willing.
Hey, and if you don't want to play bags, you can be cheerleader. That's fun too. We
Absolutely.
got lots of cheerleaders. Absolutely.
I love that. Well, and that all just ties back to, I know Highmark, you got 4 really big values, but cultivating that vibrant community just
Absolutely.
is key for you guys. So I love that. Is there anything else? We're winding down on our time, and I don't want to cut you guys off because Lord knows what's going to happen next. But is there anything else that people should know about Edencrest, about Highmark, and why, you know, our communities are a bit different? You're going to walk in, you're going to see it, you're going to feel it. Anything else you really want people to know and consider?
Yeah, I think Susan had a very good point earlier when she said, if you visit an Edencrest and it's not the one for you, there are many more. And again, I can't stress how important it is that our size is small. I've worked in ones that have over 200 apartments, and honestly, guys, you can't keep track of your people.
No.
You just can't. So the size is super important. It doesn't feel like a hotel. I've heard that a lot in my career. Wow, this is a hotel.
This is like a hotel.
It goes on and on and on
It
and
should
on.
feel like home. It really
It should
should.
feel like home. And if I can just go off the rail here just a little bit more advice for these adult children. I know this is how my mind thinks.
Do it.
Right? Squirrel. Is I always encourage people, before you decide what community you're going to choose, you really need to have a meal there.
Absolutely.
I like that.
You guys understand, but people look at me like I'm crazy. And I said, no, this is why, because I feel this in my heart. What's going to make or break your stay is if you are with your own people. Right? And I always tell people, I'm very honest, at lunchtime, love to sit you with some residents. You're going to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? But they will find out if they are their people. I had an experience, 93-year-old man, this is another community. He made the appointment with me, and he came in and he goes, I'm not sitting down until you answer one question. And I'm like, whew, oh boy, what's coming at me?
Hot seat.
Yeah. And he says, do I have to wear a jacket to dinner?
Oh.
And I'm like,
Wow.
no, absolutely not. But he had visited a community where they required jackets, and he knew clearly these weren't his people. This isn't what he was looking for. So I know it sounds silly. I know it sounds easy, but every single person recommend go have lunch.
Go have lunch.
Well
Also, try out the food.
Yeah,
You
try
know,
the food as well.
for our seniors, food is huge. That becomes a very big part of their life. So not just the nutritional value, but also the way it's presented, how it tastes, and that kind of also, Carla, I don't know if you know this, but you know, we now have, you know, an executive chef that works for, Jason is his name, for Highmark. And so he really he's zoned in and is really focused on food. And it's exciting to see what's coming out of those kitchens.
Yep. Speaking of culinary too, that reminds me, you know, I feel one thing that sets us aside is we hear our residents, okay? We hear them, and we hear them through suggestion boxes. We hear them through monthly meetings. We'll have a food service meeting. We'll have a meeting about activities. The executive director has a meeting. We have all these committees. And, you know, I feel our residents feel heard because, you know what? We don't live there, they do. This is their home, not
Absolutely.
ours. So they experience and see things that we don't. And I just think, I know that's important because I've seen the large amount of residents that attend these. And to me, that says they're being heard.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I really think that's great because that will give us some different menu options, right? If they want this or that, they're, you know, they can, you know.
It's important.
Yeah.
It really is. To them, it's important, and whatever is important to them, we want to. Yeah, it's important to us.
Right.
We truly do care at the Highmark and Edencrest across the brand.
Absolutely.
Well, and the one reoccurring theme I keep hearing, Carla, especially from you, is be proactive.
Absolutely.
Proactive and
Don't wait.
And as we're going into the winter months as well, I mean, are there things people should be doing going into winter, into the holidays, things of that nature?
One thing that I do like to tell families is that we are a month-to-month lease.
Yeah.
And that's important for them to know. So if you want, it's cold, it's icy outside. So you want mom to come and stay with us for 3 or 4 months, have her come and stay 3 or 4 months. She's going to be safe. We can provide transportation. We have buses. We also have vans. Let her then make that decision come spring. If, she wants to move back home. And very rarely does anybody want to move back home because this has become their home. And they really do have so much going on and so much to offer in these communities that they don't want to leave. And so to let families know that, have them come try it for the winter. They're going to be safe. They're going to be active. They're going to be mentally stimulated. That's so important.
Love that. Well, you guys, we're running out of time. Carla, what were you thinking?
She's thinking. I
saw the brain.
Yeah. I'm just thinking I want to hit on that being proactive again. No, and let's face it. Let's be honest. No one wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh, I'm going to move to assisted living today." Right? They just don't do that. Right? It's just something people don't do. Again, I'm going to put the pressure on the adult children. Go to communities. You don't have to tell your parents that you're doing that. Gather information, do the research, okay? Another thing we don't like to talk about is finances. We have to have that conversation with finances,
Absolutely.
right? Let's stretch that money as far as we can. Because the worst case scenario, like I said earlier, we don't want you to be in a position where something happens and you've got 48 hours to find a place to live. That is our worst case scenario because that transition from home to community, we take that really seriously and we want to do it right. So I just urge you, please, just to do some of your homework, your research up front, because chances are the day will come, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's good advice, the both of you. I know you could keep going all day long, and I love having you here, but we're going to do the off the rails section really quick before we let everyone go.
Okay.
What was that, Carla?
Oh, no.
It's an easy one, actually, in my opinion.
Okay.
All right. The off the rails question is, where is your favorite place to travel and why?
Oh my gosh. Now, why are you asking this? So
randomly generated, truly.
My husband and I, we travel every 6 months. We're on a cruise. Our next cruise will be January to the Mexican Riviera. And then we just booked another one, a European river cruise. So I am a cruiser.
I'm a cruiser.
Wow.
I love it. And it can be anywhere. Anywhere. And if you haven't.
It could be your pool.
It truly.
Carla.
Well, I have been to Hawaii. I don't travel much. I can't beat that. Can I have another question?
No, it's not about beating it. Your favorite place to be.
Okay, place to be.
Place to be. You know what? My very favorite place to be is around a campfire.
That's awesome.
Specifically with my mother. She is just hilarious, and it just takes me way back to our camping days. So
I love that.
Yep.
That's a good
That's
one.
my
I
happy
love it.
place.
So yours
Anywhere
was nice.
around a
Mine
campfire
was
with.
not so nice.
It was perfect.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much for taking the time to share a little bit more about Edencrest, Highmark, what sets it apart, what's coming up. Very excited for even more options to, age in place and expand into the areas that really need senior care, like Pleasant Hill, like Adele.
Absolutely.
That's all really exciting. So thank you guys for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, you guys, you can catch these two on YouTube at Dig It Playlist, or you can listen wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back next week. Thank you.